gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for February 27th, 2025. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, it's time to Pokemon go back to bed because I got up too early to talk over that Pokemon Day Presents showcase. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa, everybody. Jan, how are you doing?
A little frazzled, not gonna lie, Grubb. Brain firing off on too many cylinders. I don't know how many wrinkles I have left, but we're not quite at smooth brain, you know?
Right, somewhere in between, which, you know, it helps to be in that butter zone there. You don't want to have full wrinkles and you don't want to have full smooth. But yeah, it's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving pieces. I've made some choices in my life following my Blight Club escapades yesterday. I decided to just check out Dan and Mike's games that are coming up because we know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I beat both of them last night. Now to be fair, I used save states and rewind on the Steam Deck, and I kind of had a good time. Much better time than playing Blues Brothers 2000, that's for sure.
Grubb, since all the Blight Club pipes are headed through me now, I feel like I'm also inadvertently experiencing the Blight, and just seeing the rage in your eyes and the pure glee in those other two chuckleheads, I don't think it's right. I think maybe you should strike.
Yeah, I'll probably picket line and tell people not to cross here pretty soon. Blues Brothers 2000 at least is interesting. I'll keep going back to that point. They are bad at picking games. They just are. They don't really think about it. Dan's a bad influence on Mike. Mike is the bad influence on Dan. It just goes all the way to the bottom.
See, here's the problem, is that Mike Minotti doesn't want to yes and all of us.
Right.
But if it's just him and Dan making a decision, Mike will get coerced or he will reach the bad butter zone with Dan.
Right, the bad butter.
You don't want to be
there
bad
are a couple
butter.
Bad butters.
Yeah.
I think Blues Brothers 2000 might have been Mike's idea originally, but then Lightning Round comes around and now it's good because previously it was too short. Too short was what they said. So,
Grubb, do you think they didn't do their homework and that they already decided on Blues Brothers 2000 for your real Blight Club shift, and they didn't pick a shorter game in time?
Yeah. I think, yes, exactly. I think the dog ate their homework and they were left with this. And this is the only, they had already sent this when they remembered, it was supposed to be a short game. And now they are just working me at this point.
Great. No, I'm standing with you, Grubb. I think we should abolish music now.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to do something. Need to do something. I'll playing those games though. I'm excited to see both of them, and I do have a strategy because Dan's game could be very short, unless we don't help him at all, which I will have to have a conversation with Mike about. We'll have to stop him from helping.
Well, here's what I'll do since I'm producing them now. I'm just gonna mute him.
Perfect. All right, we got it. We got a solution here, everybody. We're going to make it happen. Thanks again for tuning in. We're going to explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. I'll take a quick break here again to say, hey, well, this is another one of those days we're testing out, going all day, but this time it'll be over on YouTube. Is that right, Jan?
Yes, correct. Hello, YouTube will be there not all day, but most of the day.
Yeah, most of the day. We'll be going from this into something else. So definitely stick around if you're watching live on YouTube. It is the GameSpot buddies, right? They're going to be messing around in the studio a little bit?
Yes, I believe the GameSpot homies will be doing some things in the stew. I was supposed to join them, but my brain didn't let me leave the apartment today.
No, that's fine. I would not want you to leave. Pokemon happened. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game S Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with everything we saw during the Pokemon Day Presents showcase. This comes from Kenneth Shepard over at Kotaku. Shout outs to Kenneth. It's that time of year when Pokemon fans get to have an early Christmas. It's Pokemon Day, which commemorates the anniversary of the launch of the original Pokemon Red and Green in Japan in 1996. Each year, the Pokemon Company puts on a live stream to talk about upcoming games, updates to current ones, and other projects within the franchise. Last year's was a little low-key because it was the first year in a while that Game Freak didn't release a new RPG or DLC. But this year, the studio is releasing Pokemon Legends ZA, the second installment in the Legends sub-series set in Kalos. That wasn't the only announcement, although things were still pretty quiet. If you want to watch the full live stream, it's available, blah, blah, blah. All right. Pokemon Concierge. They have new episodes coming. I liked what I've seen of this show. The first series is also now free to watch on YouTube, at least for a few days, is what they're saying. You ever watch Concierge?
Yes, absolutely love Concierge. Folks know I'm not a fan of claymation, but I am pro stop motion.
Kalos?
Kalos.
Yeah, well, I'm just not going to get that one right. I don't care.
It's fine.
Yeah, that does. Even though, so stop motion, especially Gumby style frightens you, but this one, does this one work?
Yes, this one works. Sorry, I started buffering as soon as you said Gumby.
Yeah, I didn't mean to actually scare you.
I thought the first season of Pokemon Concierge was really well done. I think Nikki said this during the talkover earlier, but I would love to see a behind the scenes look, especially when it comes to making the miniatures for the Pokemon. And also, there's something quaint about stop motion, like an animated twee or that is only attainable in that specific art form.
Yep. They did show some like screen tests for some of the Pokemon that'll show up in Concierge going forward. That was cute to see, but yes, I would like to see even more of how that is made. That stuff has always been fascinating. I mean, going back to Phil Tippett that did the Go motion stuff for the stop motion in Empire Strikes Back, where like they had little motors inside the legs, so they would move very slowly and do slow exposure, so you get the motion blur and the stop motion, cool. And it's like what a brilliant thing that they did to make that stuff look great. Pokemon Go, the mobile capturing app, is hosting a series of new events over the coming weeks. A Unova Go, I probably said that one wrong too. A Unova Go tour is taking place on March 1st and 2nd and will include Black and White Kyurem.
Yeah.
Kyurem.
You got it right.
In raid battles. Shiny Meloetta and Victini. These names are insane, all right? Will also be available during this time. How's Pokemon Go going?
Pokemon Go, personally, I kind of feel like this household has kind of hit a bit of a lull with it, primarily because some things... They did the Wizard Unite thing, Grubb, where they've decided to add a bunch of systems to overcomplicate the game. And I feel like if you are that free-to-play player in Pokemon Go, you hit the ceiling very fast. And it is definitely a game that has transformed into a pay-to-win MMO. And or mobile game where it is very difficult to get anything going. Good for folks that are still playing Pokemon Go. I was a little bit surprised to see some Pokemon Go content based off of the Niantic news we reported on, I believe last week, of Niantic kind of wanting to offload all of their games to a third-party company.
Yep, in Saudi Arabia. Yep, but I mean... Pokemon Company will still be involved with that. I wonder how the Pokemon Company feels about Savvy coming in there and capturing that. I don't think we've heard from them about that in one way or the other, either from reporting or from public statements. Probably wouldn't be any public statements yet because that's sensitive stuff when you're talking about acquisitions. Mm-hmm. All right, Pokemon Masters EX. This is the one where like you get all the trainers, right? And that's the big part of this.
Yeah, this is like a mobile game. It's like 3v3 kind of, but you're right. You are kind of facing and collecting trainers. I'm surprised that this has been going on for like 5+ years now.
Yeah. And they always have updates about it during these Pokemon days. So I was like not surprised to see it, was expecting it. And they are promising basically new stuff, more stuff coming to the gacha game on tomorrow. February 28th. That'll be tomorrow. That's when you get May. And then Brendan will follow on March 2nd. Beware the coming of Brendan on March 2nd. Pokemon Cafe Remix, a puzzle game. Pokemon Cafe Remix is getting an Apple-based event on Friday. Hey, Mike.
Hey,
Mike Minotti. Hey, Mike, they're doing it for you. That's Friday, February 28th. So again, tomorrow, which will allow you to add either Appleton or Flapple to have them join your staff. Flapple's an incredible name. Really, really like that.
I do enjoy the Apple designed Pokemon from 2 generations ago.
Yeah, it's spectacular that they have multiple Apple-based Pokemon.
Of course.
The event also includes outfit packs for Sprigatito, Fuecoco, and Quaxley. That's got to be how you say all those, right? That one felt good.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you very much. Pokemon Sleep, Darkrai, and Cresselia are coming to Pokemon Sleep. Not much is known about their appearance, but they're both known for being able to affect dreams and nightmares, so they're appropriate for a sleep app. And saying those names makes me want to go to sleep.
Cresselia.
Cresselia, okay.
But I already feel some type of way about the Pokemon Company monitoring my sleep, and now they're threatening me with Darkrai entering my dreams?
That's what there's that
ghost guy. He's bad news.
Have you ever used Pokemon Sleep, Jan?
No, but when I went to Japan last year, I was very tempted because the nice Japanese man was handed me a brochure explaining Pokemon Sleep.
Incredible. Pokemon Unite, 3 new Pokemon are coming to the MOBA. This one, I'm going to say it how Mike said, Suicune or whatever. Suicune, whatever. Suicune?
Suicune.
Suicune. Sure, why not? Alolan Raichu and Alcremie is how I'm going to say that one.
No, you got that one right.
And it's really Alcremie? All right, whatever. Are all joining the roster in March, April, and soon, respectively. That's April for the S1, March for the S1, April for Raichu, and soon for Alcremie. Also, a new mode called First to 500 is coming, which requires either team to reach 500 points through scoring goals.
You're doing great, Grubb. You're doing great, sweetie.
Alolan?
No, that's fine. It's fine. Keep going.
I'm just gonna love Alcremie over here. Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, as previously leaked, Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket is getting a new booster set called Triumphant Light. The Arceus-centric set will be added to the app tomorrow, February 28th. A lot of stuff happening with Pokemon tomorrow. The trading card game, the shoot card game, outside of the app, we also have some new Mega Evolution EX cards coming to the standard trading card game. How do you feel about Mega Lucario and Mega Gardevoir? Yeah, Gardevoir. So
the art on the cards looks absolutely gorgeous. The part that I take a little bit issue with is that sometimes those physical cards still to this day, Grubb, can be very hard to get your hands on. If you don't want to pay secondhand prices or resale prices on those bad boys. But cool to see Mega Evolutions headed back to the TCG. I haven't played in a hot minute, so I've been kind of out of the loop. I would be very interested to see how this currently affects the meta. At least I was familiar with from last year.
Yeah, I mean, people seem mostly to enjoy Mega Evolutions in the games.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this will be exciting and give people reasons to buy the cards, which I'm sure they're just aching for. They're not really any of those anymore.
No, if you go to a Costco, you go to a Target, you go to any of these big box retail stores, Grubb, they are still enforcing, most of them are enforcing a 2 boxes or 2 packs per, not the little individual packs.
Right. The boxes
per customer. And people are still trying to circumvent that rule by having a friend or a partner come up after them maybe 10 minutes.
Right. All right, then. Pokemon Champions. Did you see this, Jan? Yeah, here we go. After some updates on some small events in Scarlet and Violet, we got into a brand new game called Pokemon Champions. The Switch and mobile game, so it's Switch, iOS, and Android, was only shown through a cinematic teaser, but it was described as a core-style battle simulator outside of the typical RPG structure. It's being developed by Pokemon Works, a government institution apparently, and will let you connect to Pokemon Home to import your parties from mainline games. If you don't have access to that or for whatever reason, there are select Pokemon available in Pokemon Champions. Pokemon Champions is Pokemon Stadium 3 by all measures, basically. What are you thinking?
I need someone at Game Freak to cut me the fucking check, Jeff Grubb.
Yeah, I mean, you've been pitching this one for a hot minute now. Did you take a look? I mean, obviously it was a cinematic trailer. They were sharing mostly vibes, but it was kind of trying to say what it was going to be like to play it, show off what it would feel like. Is this what you want?
I think this is almost what I want. They very sparse on the information, like you mentioned, Grubb. But the fact that they made like a whole little hype trailer and that the format of battling the Pokemon was 2v2 means to me that they are taking the VGC a little bit more seriously. Sean posted about this on Blue Sky, but the fact that they may be separating battling from the core Pokemon games is enticing to me because that allows for some innovation and for some difference going on in like the mainline or the Legends games moving forward. But that they may make battling more streamlined. I know that that has been one of the hurdles even for me, is that I don't want to have to breed endless amounts of Pokemon, get the right IVs. Scarlet and Violet definitely streamlined that process a little bit, but for the casual person trying to get in, I think this is going to be amazing, especially because this is going to be on mobile. They did show that there would be some connectivity to Pokemon Go, Pokemon Home, Scarlet and Violet. So I think it may still implement some of the breeding aspect, or at least getting specific Pokemon. The big deal for me, though, Grubb, is on top of the 2v2, they showed off terrestrializing. I think I said that wrong. Grubb, you're rubbing off me.
Yeah, I know. I'm here.
As well as Mega Evolutions. If they're going to get super crazy with it, let's throw in Dynamaxing as well. But the fact that they're also bringing back Mega Evolutions into VGC along with terrestrializing is going to be absolutely wild. I caught a little bit of the pretty much LeBron James of Pokemon VGC, Wolf Glick, talking about this, and his reaction, I think, is very telling. He's like one of the top Pokemon VGC players, and if he thinks that this is going to be absolutely game-changing to the world of competitive VGC Pokemon, I 100% believe him. This is going to be terrible for me.
Yeah, I do you get the sense that they will experiment in here? Because I mean, you're talking about a bunch of things that didn't seem to they couldn't fit or were afraid to put into the core battles in core Pokemon.
I at least think that maybe they'll tighten up some of the animations, that they'll look less lazy,
right?
And then some of the risks that they may take is kind of going all in on VGC, because it has kind of been like a stepchild to the side of this giant Pokemon craze, right? Like we've seen so much hype with the cards, with the mobile card app, Pokemon Go, but VGC has been like a solid portion of the audience has kind of been, I don't want to say ignored, but not attended to. And I also hope that this helps out with spinning up tournaments. It's very hard to, it's very hard, if not possible at all, unless you're running an official Pokemon tournament, to spectate and properly project a game to commentate over. If this has one of those modes that you can run a local tournament, you can have that spectator view, so you're not spoiling any potential moves, that'd be absolutely fantastic. I kind of want them to lean all the way in and go full VGC, go full esports on this.
And then, are you relieved that this is a separate app that they can tend on its own, instead of like putting this mode into like the next big main Pokemon game?
Yes, 100%, Grubb. To be honest, I don't want to play another normal Pokemon game.
Yeah.
Legends EA, which we'll get to in a second, I'm interested in that. But when it comes to the battling, I want to be able to pick the Mons that I want on a team. Maybe ask some friends to breed some Pokemon for me, or whatever. maybe go through my existing list and try and get to it that way. Because I'm curious as to how mobile players on phones will be able to acquire Pokemon if there is no exploration part of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Kane Highwind also reiterates that the disclaimer on the trailer said only select Pokemon can be used. I think they said that until home can get involved. And I think at that point, I mean, who knows? There probably might still be a selection of the Pokemon you have at home, because they're going to have to render these things in Champion, but it's a championship. But they're going to want to do that eventually, because they're going to want to support this long term. So they'll get around to all of the Pokemon eventually, would be my guess. Okay, let's see here. Pokemon Legends ZA closed out the show. This is the Switch 1 RPG that deviates from Legend Arceus in that it takes place in modern day Kalos.
Kalos, yeah.
All right, Kalos. Rather than a historical setting, your character will start their journey with either Chikorita, Totodile, or Tepig. Tepig. Well, Lumos, this one I never knew how to say. Luminos City is undergoing an urban redevelopment plan. There will be discrete wild areas where you can capture more Pokemon. Okay, now I get why they talked about the redevelopment plan, because they want to have areas that are sort of untended by man, so that Pokemon can just roam free in there. Okay, so it's a narrative device. But it doesn't seem like ZA will include the open zones of Arceus. The game will launch on Switch in late 2025. Did you take a look at this? Because
Yes.
It looks like the combat here is real time, kind of emulating what you get when you watch the anime.
It does, and this kind of factored in a little bit into Legends Arceus, where positionality mattered a little bit, but here it definitely feels like it is going to matter more. My biggest takeaway from this ZA presentation is that the Onix in the game looked very small. He looked like a teeny dude that was maybe like 5'5", if anything.
That's weird.
But anyway, I'm super interested because I feel like Legends Arceus was able to hook in a bunch of lapsed Pokemon fans, and I feel like this is going to be able to kind of replicate those feelings of watching the anime that people had as kids, of like, oh, cool, I can walk around this living city. There are Pokemon, and at least in these designated zones that I can catch. And if I need to battle someone, it may or may not be a little bit more dynamic. It kind of reminded me of Xenoblade Chronicles, though, based off of the way that the Pokemon were looking and you were issuing commands, which I don't have a problem with.
No, that sounds. I mean, I enjoyed. Was it Xenoblade Chronicles 3? That's the one I played, and I enjoyed the way the combat worked in that. If it's similar within, as Kane Highwind again in chat points out, Xenoblade style cooldowns. That totally makes sense and works for me. I loved Arceus. I always point that. I didn't beat it or anything like that, but I played like 15 hours of it, 12 hours of that on a marathon stream, and really, really enjoyed myself. Have been looking forward to this with the hopes that it would kind of take the things that made that game fun and continue them. And, when the character threw a Pokeball in real time at a Pokemon and captured it, I'm like, yep, that's the thing I really, really liked in Arceus. I'm glad that's here. I'm set. And then they showed this off. I'm like, oh, I didn't even consider that the Pokemon battles themselves could be vastly different than how they had been before. And that's interesting to me, because I do like turn-based. I want Pokemon battles to evolve, like it seems like a lot of fans want as well. But I still want the core games, the traditional games, to be turn-based. So we're gonna get both, it sounds like. So this is a very neat pathway that the Pokemon Company and Game Freak are blazing for themselves with this opportunity to have these two different pillars going forward.
Yeah, I think it's a good strategy, Grubb. I think I'm kind of still surprised that they stuck with the format that they were rolling with for Sword and Shield into Scarlet and Violet after something like Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee was such a runaway success for them. And I mean, hey, the mainline Pokemon games are always going to be a success, but in terms of format, I thought they would have deviated a little bit. And I'm happy to see that the Legends series, or like the Legends format, is going to be a thing moving on. I would love to see other or previous generations get adapted to that.
Yep. And then finally, as Et points out in chat here, looks, Switch 1 game might even be overstating it. It looks simple. It looks rough. I think it does look like you take a 3DS game and you make it HD. Kind of looks like that. They have this city that you're in that is very bland, and it seems like they made a lot of choices to ensure that their technology wouldn't get dragged down and have terrible performance, but that means that you get not a lot of detail in the world. I don't know, doesn't really bother me. When I come to these games for is, hey, is the Pokemon cute? I'm looking at Pokemon, that design is very cute, and they did a good job of representing it in this 3D game. They're doing that. And so I'm going to be good, but I don't blame anyone for looking at this and being like, what is going on? But that's Game Freak. I don't know.
That's Game Freak. I'm kind of surprised we didn't see any discernible news when it comes to the Switch 2 coming out. Everything when they mentioned the Switch was just the original current Switch.
Yes.
So I'm curious to see, will all these existing Pokemon titles be ported over? Will they just run backwards compatible? Will there be a Switch 2 version of ZA? And I'm just curious to see what will happen with Pokemon and the Switch 2. I know that there was a little bit of disappointment across the internet when it comes to Pokemon. There always is. That there wasn't any reveal of the 10th generation, but I feel like they would be saving that for the Switch 2 for next year when they hit 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, now we've had 2 Pokemon Day presentations in a row that have been relatively low key. So I think that getting your hopes up for more to happen next year when it's the 30th anniversary and Switch 2 is here in earnest, I think that's a completely fair expectation. As far as like Switch 2 getting mentioned during this thing goes, it seems like one of those things where Pokemon Company, Game Freak, traditionally don't rush ahead to the next platform, especially not before it's out. They know where their bread is buttered, and it's families buying consoles, and families continue to buy consoles for their kids. And that means like last gen consoles as new hardware comes out a little bit longer than other groups of people who play games. And so they're happy to continue to tell people, buy a Switch for this game. It's affordable, and our game will be very exciting for your kids. So just do that. And that strategy was very evident in this Pokemon Day presentation. So not surprised that they didn't mention it. And then also they probably, Nintendo's like, we're going to handle that. So you guys all just chill. At that, Switch 2 Direct that's happening April 2nd, they very well could give us information about what's going on with ZA for Switch 2 in that moment. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I may be outing myself here, Grubb, and throwing a stone at the glass house, within the glass house, whatever the metaphor is. But Pokemon, at the end of the day, Grubb, it's a kid's game.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and the thing is, there's always new kids, and so they always just end up selling to those new kids. And when everyone else sticks around, they definitely love that, because that is what has made it the most valuable property. But the way they're able to do that is enticing those new generations, a new generation of kids each time that they crop up. So, I think they will continue down that path for sure. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll get to the rest of the headlines, including a little bit more information about what happened to Wonder Woman over there at Monolith Productions before everything got shut down and closed and everyone got laid off. All right, that canceled Wonder Woman game was gorgeous and expansive, says comic writer who consulted on it. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. A long-term consultant on Warner's recently canceled Wonder Woman game has shared some details about what the title might have offered had it seen the light of day. Announced in 2021, but reportedly still years away from release after being rebooted in 2024, the game had been in development at Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War studio Monolith Productions. However, on Tuesday, parent company Warner Brothers announced that it was closing Monolith alongside 2 other internal studios, Player First Games and WB San Diego, and scrapping Wonder Woman. Reacting to the news in a Twitter thread, veteran comic book writer Gail Simone, who has penned many issues of Wonder Woman and served as a long-term consultant on the canceled title, said the game was gorgeous and expansive. She also wrote, "It was beautiful to look at. I am not going to give details for a number of reasons, but every effort was made to make this not just a great game, but a great Wonder Woman game, a showpiece epic. And all of that was because of the team. Everyone who worked on it brought their A game. Programmers, artists, designers, everyone. I don't know that I ever worked with a team that cared more about making sure the end product was perfect. Yeah, I believe her. Of course, she's not going to go out there and trash talk the game, but she also didn't have to come out there and say anything.
Yeah.
And Gail has always struck me as a straight shooter, so I think she's shooting here. And this feels like a situation where you want to speak on behalf of all these people that did all this work that will never see the light of day, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I do feel for Gail here because she's probably seen her peers go through a lot of this with WB, right?
Yes.
With WB starting projects, finishing projects, shelving projects, or just punting on them entirely. It does have to be frustrating, especially from a comic book author's perspective, especially. She didn't have to come out and say anything, and folks are chiming in chat that Gail Simone is responsible for like the quintessential Wonder Woman run. I'm not super familiar with Wonder Woman's comic book run, but Gail Simone has written a boatload of fantastic comics.
Prolific.
It's a bummer. It's well documented at this point, Grubb, how you and I feel about the second Wonder Woman movie, but there were aspects of that first one that I enjoyed. A lot of people fell in love with that character all over again because of the Snyder movies. So it kind of, not necessarily a slam dunk, but it felt like, oh, this is another pillar we can bet on for DC. And DC, in terms of video games, very far few in between if it's not an Arkham game. And even those aren't guarantees at this point.
Yep, definitely. Everything is a question mark at WB now. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame how this went down. For as much as it was predictable that WB would have crashed and burned one of these studios or a handful of these studios, as this case may be, it's still very troublesome that a studio like Monolith Productions can have that history, and a corporation can look at this asset that they have and go, no, thank you. We'd rather not. It just speaks to a sickness at the heart of the video game industry. And I would have really liked to have seen this game. It's a shame we won't get a chance to see it. All right. Speaking of that Wonder Woman game, one of the big hallmark features of it was going to be the Nemesis system. But this might have been one of its Achilles heels. Popular Nemesis system wasn't coming together in the canceled Wonder Woman game. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Monolith was struggling to implement the fan favorite and patented Nemesis system in the now canceled Wonder Woman game, it's claimed. According to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, speaking on the Kind of Funny Games Daily podcast, the game, which was canceled alongside the closure of its developer Monolith, faced multiple setbacks during development. It's also claimed that the most recent version of the game being worked on before the studio was closed would have eliminated the Nemesis system and instead been more of a traditional action-adventure game akin to God of War. Following the success of its two Lord of the Rings games, the studio is working on a new IP that would have expanded on the Nemesis system's procedural narrative. During this time, it's kind of clear to people at Warner Brothers that this game is not going to happen because people at Warner Brothers are not interested in new IP, said Schreier. In 2021, the original IP was canceled by Warner Brothers, which caused the entire leadership team at the studio to quit. So that summer, the studio began working on Wonder Woman. The game would be announced later that year at the Game Awards with a short trailer showing off the character model. Warner Brothers decides it's not interested in new IP and decides they, Monolith, are going to make a Wonder Woman game, Schreier said. The game was rebooted around the beginning of 2024, switching directors and completely changing the direction of the game. The main thing that was rebooted, they were playing around with the idea that Wonder Woman would befriend people. It was the Nemesis system in reverse, where they would become your allies, and it wasn't coming together, or the idea wasn't coming together. Schreier said they rebooted it to be more of a God of War style traditional action game. By then, it was kind of too late, though. Yeah, I mean, there was that aspect in one of those Shadow of Mordor games where you could kind of get the orcs under your thrall, right? And that you could like have them join up with you. I'm vaguely remember. It's been a long time since I played those games, and I did not play much of War because I was turned off by the microtransactions at the time. Something I know that they've addressed and gotten rid of. But yeah, this does feel like a little bit of a ball and chain around this studio where it's like they are known for the Nemesis system now. So make a game with the Nemesis system. And everyone was asking for that, including me. But I never considered like, oh, well, what if it just isn't working for the idea that they want to do? Like when you say Wonder Woman, but it's like God of War 2018, I kind of go, oh yeah, duh. That's actually probably what it should have been from the beginning. That's like an easy thing to just map one thing onto the other, and you do your version of that. And maybe it's not as good as God of War 2018, probably wouldn't be, but it would probably be very successful and a big hit with people who are into Wonder Woman, into DC, into that lore. And maybe that should have been the first idea rather than how can we make something with the Nemesis system? Because, yeah, for as much as I do love that idea, I don't think you needed to ham-fist it into here if it wasn't going to work, right?
Yeah, it 100% Grubb, because the inverse of the Nemesis system just sounds like friendship. And it just sounds like the social link system from Persona games.
Yeah.
And hey, even that twist could be fine. It doesn't have to be like a major mechanic in the game. It could just be like, oh, hey, I'm cool with this Amazonian lady, and now she gives me a potion if I need it. Something close to that. It just feels like Monolith has kind of been stuck in that position where, with the ball and chain Grubb of like, yo, WB patented the Nemesis system for y'all. Y'all got to use it. And the reality is, for as cool as the Nemesis system was, it doesn't need to be in every single game.
No, and you know, sure, we got it in 2 of their games kind of back to back, and it has like popped up in other forms elsewhere in ways that like don't look exactly like the patented version of it that Monolith owns. But I think, you know, the thing you want from games is novelty and something new, and an evolution of the Nemesis system, or something completely out of left field that we weren't even expecting or didn't know we wanted. I think that's the kind of thing that really works for games. And it's been 10 years since we had the Nemesis system. It's been longer than that. It's been 11 years now. So, yeah, at a certain point, you kind of can't hold a whole studio to this one idea and say, keep doing that. You got to let them figure out what this game needed to be. Sounds like they did figure that out, but far too late. And then that's the real sad story here. Absolutely. We talked about it yesterday on the show. Nemesis system still under a patent for another 10 years, basically. It will lapse in, maybe it's a little bit longer than that. I think it's going to lapse in 2036. So, yeah, I don't expect many other studios to want to like try to like license that. I don't think Warner Brothers would even have the wherewithal or the bandwidth to like have lawyers ready to go to draw up those kinds of contracts. So either Warner Brothers sits on it and doesn't do anything, or they sit on it and they or they give it away for free, which seems unlikely.
No.
Right. And that does happen with patents and software all the time in other industries, but gaming companies are just so secretive and kind of shitty that I wouldn't expect that to happen.
I think the Nemesis system would do great in a dating game.
Yeah, absolutely.
You wrong someone, they come back ready to gaslight you. They know your normal moves. They know how you flirt. They're going to make sure you don't go on another date.
Right, you have a bad breakup, and they come back with their battle damage, their traumatic scars, and you don't see it visually, but it's like under the surface. Oh man, we're cooking. All right, let's keep moving here. Xbox boss teases unannounced games and reacts to Switch 2 reveal. This is from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. It's no secret that Xbox has a lot of games coming in 2025, but what we've heard about so far doesn't represent everything the company is working on. Xbox game studio boss Craig Duncan said in an interview that Microsoft has plenty of games still to be announced. Asked about what he's playing now and looking forward to, Duncan said on the Xbox podcast that he spends a lot of time playing Microsoft's own games, including unannounced games. We've got a bunch of stuff we haven't announced, so obviously I spend a bunch of time with that, he said. Microsoft has more games coming to PS5 this year than Sony does, at least so far, including Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Doom the Dark Ages, Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, Age of Mythology Retold, The Outer Wilds 2, and Ninja Gaiden 4. I bet you can add Avowed to that list. That'll be on PS5 before the end of the year, would be my guess. As for when any future Xbox games could be revealed, it's expected that Microsoft will hold a showcase of some kind this June, and that could be when we learn about upcoming Xbox games. On one Xbox title slated for 2025, Fable, was recently delayed to 2026 and could come to PS5. I think that's the game that got delayed, and they moved up Outer Worlds to this year to kind of fill in that gap. They were kind of shifted those things around. It's interesting though, because Outer Worlds 2 from Obsidian, just like Avowed, which just came out, so they're going to have 2 games this year. But Jan, they might announce a 3rd game. I'm hearing. I think one of the unannounced games could be Grounded 2. I think they're going to work on that. It sounds like that's going to happen here relatively soon. Could go into early access this year. And I don't know if people kept up with Grounded 1. That game got into a really, really strong state by this point. It is a very fun game. So I bet that team was just like, yeah, let's go make Grounded 2. And I think Microsoft was probably happy to let them do that. So yeah, Obsidian continues to cook for them. Anything else that you would like hope to hear or see from Microsoft?
We talk continuously, Grubb, about them re-releasing the Master Chief Collection in ODST. I can't think of too many other Microsoft specific franchises off the top of my head, but I guess it's good to see them making games and putting out games, because they were in kind of I don't want to say a rut, but it was a very slow period. Because for whatever reason, one of the last big Microsoft releases that pops up in my head is Redfall. And I don't think they want that.
They don't want you thinking about Redfall. That is correct.
Too bad, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about Xbox and their game output, for me, it's like a 10, 12, 30. I mean, it really goes back to all the way to Xbox 360. You get to Xbox One, there's the launch, which is pretty respectable for the Xbox One. And then it just falls off a cliff, because I think they were so shook by the way things went down with them launching the Xbox One, and what's his name, who I can't even remember now, who was telling people, well, we have a product for you, it's called the Xbox 360. They got really dinged up by that, and I think they were like, let's just stand back and think about the games we're even making. We're going to make a bunch of expensive games, put them out on Xbox exclusively. And for what? When people are playing thousands of hours of Destiny, we could see right here, we have their data. They're playing all this time in Destiny. Let's just kind of glom onto those, try to make some of those ourselves, make some smaller stuff. And I think they just lost faith in making games themselves a little bit. And for as much as Phil has talked about kind of curing that with Game Pass for a long time, it took a really long time to feel like it got on the other side of that. But I think it's hard to argue that they're not there now. I don't think every game is going to be as good as Indiana Jones and Avowed. But if most of the games they put out are as good as Indiana Jones and Avowed, I'm going to be very happy. I think both of those are just solid video games. B plus A minuses, both of them. And I'm like, to me, that is what a big publisher, I want you spending your time and money doing that kind of stuff. Yeah. Not everything needs to be the, game of the generation that you take 7 to 8 years to make. Let these studios kind of cook in a bunch of different genres, and they're doing that. So yeah, I'm happy with them.
I really hope that Microsoft does learn some lessons from Avowed, because I've loved pretty much all of my time with it. The only thing tearing me away is just other games right now.
Yeah, it's just so many other games. Yeah.
That I do hope that they take lessons away from that, in terms of the scale of games does not have to be a AAA God of War style blockbuster. It can be a pared down experience. I do see folks popping off in chat about the possibility. I'd love a new Banjo, Grubb.
Yeah, I believe that rumor from a couple years ago that they were greenlighting that project. I don't know who could be making it. I mean, I suppose that actually could have been the Toys R Bob project, because we found out Iron Galaxy was working on Tony Hawk. So maybe that wasn't Toys R Bob, and maybe Toys R Bob, who is very good at 3D platformers, got to make a Banjo game, or is in the process of making a Banjo game. I would love it if that were the case. I'm saying that weren't there rumors that they were going to do that and that fell through when they were still over at Activision?
Oh.
But now they're in a contract situation because they were under Microsoft. Microsoft let them go and then immediately put them under contract. It's confusing. They're also not the only studio that could do it, but the problem is there's not a ton of studios out there available to make a Banjo-Kazooie game. I would love that, though. I was playing some Banjo-Kazooie last night.
Nice. Also, with Sony's success with Astrobot, I could see Microsoft wanting to get the gears spinning on some type of platformer soon. So, hey, Blinks, baby. Don't
Blinks. Yep.
Don't Blinks, or you might miss it.
A Blinks that is just like, hey, let's ape Astrobot. I think that would be really fun. That would be a really powerful move. Blinks is our Astrobot, this dumbass cat. I would love that. Here's his vacuum cleaner. All the power-ups are vacuum-based. I want that.
Yeah, he's like, oh, there's Master Chief. There's the Arbiter. Blinks just sucks him off.
Blake's like, hi, Master Chief, and I was gonna call him Halo. Master Chief just was like, who the fuck is this cat, and just punts him away. That actually would be a good move. Is make it like Astrobot, where Blinks is going to meet all the other characters, but everyone really has no respect for Blinks. Like he's BoJack Horseman, like or something like that. I think that'd be very good.
Please.
All right, let's get to the rest of these headlines. Let's see. New Nintendo Switch 2 dock images surface. This is from Nintendo Everything. A new set of images have supposedly emerged that give us another look at the Nintendo Switch 2 dock. It's rounder. It's a dock. There's not much to this, Jan. It's a rounder Switch dock. And sure, we're getting a look at it. There might be like some like more ports on it. Yeah, you got some images here. I think that it's God. I'm just like they need to just give us that April 2nd thing. They need to just jump forward in time because this is where we're at with this thing. Maybe this thing has like a little port there on the side because these are 3D renders. Mm-hmm. Again, I said this is these are images of it. They're renders, and again, I guess this could be fake. But it does seem like these line up with everything we've seen so far. They probably are. I mean, they're so boring that'd be a really dumb thing to fake it. But yeah, how are you feeling about the Switch 2 dock, Jan?
I mean, I do like the rounded corners, Grubb.
Yeah, it does look nice.
The rounded corners are slightly more inviting. There's more vents on the dock, at least from these leaks that we're looking at here. Yeah, I have no other input on this, Grubb. I don't know how you can spice up the Switch 2 dock because I barely use the dock as is.
It's sorry, someone in chat just made a reference to an old Ricky Gervais HBO comedy special interview that he did with Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, and Louis C.K. And you could, I always could tell that he just did that because he wanted to meet those guys because he had like an HBO deal. So he's like, I'm just going to do a show where I interview those guys. It's a lewd joke, so it got by the auto mod, and it's very distracting to me because I find it very funny. But yeah, April 2nd can't come soon enough. I just want them to give me this whole thing and let me get all the details so we can stop being so obsessed with this. I guess I'll say, Jan, I'm glad that it really is just Switch again. I'm glad the dock looks like it's going to work the way the Switch 1 dock worked. It's exactly what I want it to do. I want to be able to just put it in. It's going to go to the TV. Don't have to think about it. No extra steps. It's going to be just as simple as last time.
100%, Grubb. Yeah, I don't know. Have like a cool antenna on it.
Yeah. And a
For
TV
what?
tuner.
Who knows? Oh, a TV tuner would be cool.
Yeah, sure. Why not? All right. Last couple of stories here. Last handful of stories. Sony is permanently reducing the price of the PSVR 2 starting in March. Let's see here. The price for the base PSVR 2 model, which comes with a headset, controller, and headphones, has been reduced to $400 and 400 pounds. This is a notable reduction from the current price of $549 and 529 pounds. The PlayStation VR 2 Horizon called the Mountain Bundle, which includes all the content from the base set, including a code for the VR Horizon game, will also cost $400, 400 pounds, and €450. So I bet they just get rid of that base model. They only stock the Call of the Mountain bundle once they sell out of those other ones, because they're the same price. So there's no reason not to get the one that comes with the game, right? Is this price more in line with what you need so that you'll buy a PSVR 2 Jan Ochoa?
Grubb, what a fun question, huh? Whether or not I want to go buy the PSVR 2.
Gotta keep you on your toes.
Yeah. No, I don't think I'm interested in buying the PSVR 2, even if it is reduced in price. I'm sorry. There's not enough. There's just not enough there, Grubb.
It's it's too late. There's not enough there. There's clearly no support. Even the ability to connect it to the PC, it is a downgraded experience. You don't get all of the functionality. I bet the community's worked on that stuff, but I'm not interested in like going through the hassle of setting that up when I could just use the Valve Index or the much more convenient MetaQuest 3 streaming to my PC over Wi-Fi 6, which is what continued to work flawlessly. So, and that price is still, not even fully in line with the Quest 3 pricing. I think the Quest 3 is still a little bit more affordable than that. If it's not, it's the exact same price. That clearly is going to help this thing. A lot of people already have PS5s, so we're not really talking about that. Well, you got to get a PS5 as well. A lot of people considering this would already have a PS5, but even then, this feels like I smell blood. Where they dropped the price, once. What if they dropped? What if we had second price drop? What if we got down to maybe like $299? What if Black Friday it was $199? And then we start talking about maybe I get this thing to play a couple of things. Maybe at that point.
For me, Grubb, like I have tried the PSVR 2. It is a very comfortable headset. I just don't like being wired in anymore after checking out the MetaQuest 3. I don't even know for $199, Grubb, if that'd be enticing enough. Just because I don't know what else I'd play on it besides that Horizon climbing game, Beat Saber I have already somewhere else.
I mean, the thing is with the PC one, and again, you can connect this to your PC, so if you want to do that, go to town. But with the ones I already have for PC, there are weird things popping up all the time from community developers. In fact, I just saw one yesterday that sounds so interesting. It's a VR drug dealing simulator where you kind of just stand in an alley and deal drugs, and like it's like you have to like really deal with like the police and buying low and selling high and stuff like that. And it looks really impressive. It's made by some 19-year-old kid who's in school. He's like, I've been just doing this as a passion project for the last year. I'm like, give me fucking drug wars for for VR. I loved it on TI-83. Now I could just live it. It's like, absolutely. That stuff is not going to be on PSVR 2 ever on PlayStation 5. So I'm good with what I have. And I don't have a lot of faith in institutional developers and publishers to continue fleshing out this space. And therefore, I'm going to go with the stuff that's going to be easier to work with my PC. All right.
I think that guy was just practicing how to sell drugs.
Well, I mean, who among us, right, Jan? Classic horror game Fear rushed to GOG's preservation program after Monolith's shutdown. This is from George Yang at GameSpot. GOG has announced that it is adding Fear to its preservation program next month after the game's developer, Monolith Productions, was shut down yesterday. The version being added is the Platinum one, which includes the base game and both expansions. It's on sale right now on GOG for $1. While Fear was already planned to be added to the preservation program, GOG decided to accelerate the process. Monolith Productions has given players some of the most unforgettable experiences, blending groundbreaking gameplay with rich storytelling, GOG said in a statement on Twitter. To honor their legacy, we're proud to announce that Fear Platinum will be joining the GOG preservation program. Yeah, I mean, God, this goes back to that previous story. I should have just put this right after all that stuff talking about Monolith, where it's like, hey, they were kind of railroaded into thinking about using the Nemesis system. This is the studio that revolutionized enemy AI in games with Fear. And then they didn't just keep going down that path, or if they did, they evolved that into what we saw with the Nemesis system. It's like, you got to let them just cook on their own to kind of come up with new ideas, because clearly they've done that many times before. I don't know. Clearly, a lot of the leadership left, so maybe they didn't have faith in them to do that anymore. But I'm glad that Fear is being preserved.
Yes. I've never checked out the Fear series because I was too fearful as a child.
Sure.
But I do love game preservation, Grub. I do love games being able to still be played, sold on different places. If it, maybe I'll circle back to Fear. Maybe Fear would be a good punishment.
Yeah, Fear that's a good idea for a punishment. Absolutely. It's it's the kind of thing that does still hold up today. It's got a lot of interesting aspects of it that are worth talking about and considering. I would like to see that quite a bit. Okay, let's see here. 8-Bit Dough wants you to fall in love with its latest controller. That's from Alice Jovanet at Polygon. The 8-Bit Dough Ultimate Wireless Controller quickly established itself as a very good one. They've announced the 8-Bit Ultimate Dough or 8-Bit Dough Ultimate 2, which I didn't know it was coming, but you could buy this thing now for $60 on Amazon, and it will ship like this weekend, I think, in purple, white, or black. They've got some new features here. It distinguishes itself from its predecessor aesthetically, or it doesn't distinguish itself aesthetically, retaining the same Xbox-style button layout with offset analog sticks. However, a closer inspection reveals that 8-Bit Dough has included a pair of two smaller triggers positioned slightly under the two shoulder buttons. So now it has an R4 and an L4, right there on the back, kind of nestled behind the R3, or I'm sorry, the R1 and the L1. Yeah, so it's like we got three buttons up there now. Of course, I'm worried about, am I going to accidentally press that? But I don't accidentally press like L2 when I'm trying to press L1. So yeah, this is interesting. At the very least, I love the Ultimate so much that I just want to see how else this thing is improved. And really, I just kind of want to have it because I'm like, I really like the Ultimate. I want to reward them and get this thing as well. So yeah, I'm going to check this out. I already ordered mine.
I love the addition of an additional button by the triggers. I'm all for it. It could be a good grenade button.
Right. It also like goes like kind of like the way I use the shoulder buttons with with just the index finger. I kind of rest it between the bumper and the trigger, and I just roll it back and forth to hit one or the other. And now this would be like right where the tip of the finger is, so I can roll, and then when it's time to hit the R4 or L4, I can just tap it with the tip, and that sounds like a good use of that real estate.
I'm all for it, Grub. We should be adding more buttons. Let's add another stick.
Yeah, third stick, a third leg, just basically N64 controller all over again. I'll take it.
Lucy James didn't grow up with an N64, and when we were setting up for her Next Star Players shoot, I handed her the N64 controller, and she was like, I don't know how to hold this. What? And then I told her the proper way to hold it is that I learned a couple of years ago, to put one hand on the middle so you can use the analog stick. She was like, are you joking me? You fooling around? Having a laugh,
I'm not
mate.
joking. This is it.
Yeah.
You're talking this out, and it just absolutely caused my tummy to flip over thinking about Blues Brothers asking me to hit the L button while using the controller the way you're supposed to, meaning the L button is way the fuck over there. What a dumb game. God. That really got me. I was like, this game's, it may be a little bit unfairly maligned in some ways. It clearly is a bad game. I got to that point, and it's just, this game can go to hell. Real quick, Sean in chat points out that he has the 8-Bit Dough Ultimate 2C, which is like their cheaper version of the Ultimate, or the more affordable one. And it has these buttons on as well, the third shoulder button. And he says he likes that. It's way more handy than back paddles. And I imagine that as well. Like, these will probably be easier for me to just work into the way I already use a controller than trying to get the middle and ring finger to work in ways that I'm just not used to. Although I have grown accustomed to back paddles at this point when I need them. All right,
classic Jeff Grubb, back paddling his way through stories.
That's how I do it, everybody. That does it for the headlines. We've got poll questions, and let me bring that up because I don't have it there. There we go. All right, the poll question from yesterday: do you have a handheld gaming PC, like, let's say, the Steam Deck or the Asus Roger Ally, etc.? Let's see here. 44% said yes. 56% said no. That's like pretty impressive response number because we did a story yesterday saying that this whole category, since Steam Deck came out 3 years ago, has sold a total of about 6 million units in that range, according to one firm that tracks this data based on like point of sales data. So a lot of those people are in this audience. 6 million, nowhere close to the number of people playing games. But if you are into games, it does seem like the handheld PC is a massive growing space for you. So 44% of our audience do in fact have these things. And that makes sense to me. It fits so well with the way that I want to play these traditional style games.
Yeah. Based off of reading the comments here, Grubb, folks are saying they don't have a Steam Deck or an Asus Roger, primarily because money's tight.
Yes.
The form factor when it comes to gaming, as someone that like grew up with handhelds like my whole life, maybe my wrists have been molded and mutated in a certain way to just like cock and lock into place to properly play them. Cock, lock, and drop it. Just like the song from the early aughties. But it feels like, or it seems like, that there are a lot of people that just don't like handheld gaming.
I mean, I think like I definitely recognized that when the Switch came out because I was like, man, I love this thing. It's a handheld console that totally still just a home console, but I'm going to bring it up to my face and play it just like I always did with my Game Boy, my Game Boy Color, and my Game Boy Advance, and my DS, and my 3DS, and I loved all of those. And this is like in that lineage. And I would talk to people like, I've never taken it off the dock. It is always on my TV. And I'm just like, well, what are you talking about? But some people just, for them, gaming is the TV. And just in my life, there's just always been too many people in the household for me to ever feel comfortable being like, I'm taking over the whole TV to play games, or alternatively, I'm going in the basement by myself. Screw y'all to go play games. I just never feel comfortable doing that really. So having the handheld has been a miracle for me, but I get that that's not everybody. A lot of people do have their dedicated space or live alone and can justify that much more easily than I can. So, yeah.
Like part of my theory as to why folks have yet to maybe pick up a Steam Deck or an Asus Roger is that there is the assumption, Grubb, that it is still super complicated to get into PC gaming, and maybe folks don't want to, dive into that too much. I wonder if Steam Deck, they wouldn't do this because they kind of got in trouble when they they had promoted that, was it the DS emulator or the Nintendo Switch emulator, Citra or something?
It was Cemu. I think it was the Wii U emulator.
Oh, okay.
Or it was Ryujinx, the Switch emulator. One or the other. I can't remember.
One of those, because I feel like I have a lot of normie friends that would absolutely eat up a Steam Deck, Asus Roger, if they were able to advertise, yo, all your old stuff, your PS1 stuff, your PS2 stuff, maybe some PS3 stuff, it's all on here, baby.
Yep, and it is all on there. It's all on mine. That's how I beat both of Dan's and Mike's upcoming Blight Club lightning round games. Was just on that Steam Deck last night, just hanging around. Having a good time with that. All right, we got a new poll question. It is: have you ever used a controller from 8-Bit Do? You know what? Have you ever bought a controller from 8-Bit Do? Let's make it that, Jan.
Fine.
And your options are yes or no. We'll get the results of that on Game Miss Mornings here on Giant Bomb tomorrow. One more episode this week. Speaking of Giant Bomb, we have plenty of stuff going on. Voicemail dump truck will be happening with us later today. If you are watching live, again, YouTube will continue on with the team at GameSpot beginning to mess around with how they are going to integrate into the schedule. It's going to be some people hanging out in the studio by, at least last time I checked. Again, these things could change. Everything is changing on the fly. But yeah, hang out with those boys. They're going to have a good time. What else we have? Tomorrow we will have a BCR where we're going to talk about Monster Hunter. We will have a UPF where we will play Monster Hunter. So yeah, we're going to have all that coming to you tomorrow. Anything else I'm forgetting, Jen?
No, I think that is about it. If you are watching on Twitch and on the Giant Bomb website, stay tuned. Everything will update on our end. No worries. Yeah, I'm very excited for the future of things once we iron out some more King's Grubb.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really the process that we're in right now, is just actually discovering which kinks need to be ironed out.
We're not kink shaming here.
We're not kink shaming. We are kink ironing though, and yeah, it's been fun to see how it works. It's also been a lot of work. It's been stressful and a headache because it's like, oh, I'm doing some things that's creating a lot of work for other people. A lot of times, like people I've barely interacted with, Jan, and I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to go tell them to do this and this and this and that. All right, I guess. But we're getting used to that, and we'll see how it all goes here pretty soon. At the very least, yesterday was a good example of it. We went from 12 to 5 nonstop, and I really enjoyed it. And we're gonna have a lot more stuff like that. So look forward to it. All right, Jan Ochoa, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
It's the only way to start a Thursday, Grubb.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.